Hello, guys. We are live today for Carnivore Team GB session number 31. Can't believe we're already 31 in. That's over halfway through the year. And we've got a lot to look forward to, a lot of past events we've already had this year, but there's still more to talk about, still questions to answer. And hopefully, on the panel today, we'll be able to give you your meatiest answers that you could possibly get anywhere on the planet if you're from the UK and you're awake right now and you're watching this right now. So today is an open mic, open kind of Q&A. So we don't have a particular topic in mind. We thought give you guys this opportunity to ask any questions that you do have. So please put them in the chat below. Leave a queue before the questions so they can easily be found. And we'll get started. So how are you guys doing? Have you got any news or any updates, anything pertinent to mention?
Not particularly. Just the events that we've got coming up. We've got the Spain one. If anybody's into booking for Spain, I think we've only got 2 rooms left. Is it, Ben? 2 rooms and 1 yurt.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So if you want to come and join us and Anthony Chafee and Sophia Clements, Natasha Campbell McBride for a week in Spain. Wonderful event. Check that out and have a look at my Facebook groups or whatever for news of one we've got coming up in England as well in August, where the Ancestral Health Festival with all sorts of stuff going on, stalls and demos and great speakers and even some live music and fire pits to cook your organic beef and lamb on from our local supplier who's going to do a butchery demo, blacksmithing demos, all sorts. It'll be fun. And Ben's got an event coming up as well. I don't know how much that's going to be revealed at the moment. Oh my God, the dog's broken its leg over the road. It's got a great big cast on. Poor thing. Anyway, yes.
There we go. Excellent. Well, yesterday I did an indoor skydive. Why am I saying this? Was it really relevant? Well, I enjoyed it and I wasn't in pain. So I'm very happy of that. So I had about 4 minutes of my life where I was just not in pain. Felt like a normal human being. I would recommend. It's quite pricey, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, it is still something like a fifth to maybe 10%, maybe like 10% of the cost of an actual skydive, and you get longer for it as well. So I'd recommend indoor skydiving.
Like iFly places or something.
Yeah, you're basically in a big wind tunnel. There's a trampoline beneath you. The height doesn't concern you at all. It's good fun. I do recommend it, and it's worth putting some money aside if you've not done it. I'd rate it as one of my top 5 experiences of anything ever. So I rate it that much. Definitely worth having a go. But we'll get to the questions now. So we'll just go round clockwise, Ben to Stephen to Phil. The first question is from Zinc316. Doctors told me my creatinine and bun are high and wants me to come off the diet. I was eating about 220 grams of protein, then which was a few months ago. He's 6'3", 84 kilos, and weighs and now is roughly on 180 grams of protein. What do you think towards that, Ben? In terms of like
that's more
those particular numbers?
I'll defer to you on that one.
I'm gonna go to Stephen just because he is trained in phlebotomy. Then I'll give my own take, and Phil can obviously give his take. So let me just give you centre stage, Stephen, because this is not a big enough thing. Hold on.
Center stage. So Zinc 316. Right. When you eat more protein, forget carnivore for a second. If you eat any more protein than the average person, your creatinine and your blood urea nitrogen will go slightly higher. That's just a fact. If you go on the internet and you search nurses and phlebotomy, kidney and bun, you will see many nurses saying not to worry because if you eat more protein than the average person, these are not troublesome numbers, especially when you look at things like the GFR in conjunction with it, and especially if you do a cystatin C test, which actually does measure the filtration of your kidney. So the blood urea nitrogen, as the name implies, nitrogen is a breakdown of protein. Creatinine is a breakdown of, of protein. So it's going to be higher if you're eating more protein. These ranges that doctors look at, all the labs really, are based on at least 60% carbohydrates in your diet. So if you have 0% carbohydrates in your diet, you're going to have slightly more protein, slightly more fats, and you're going to have different readings. Sorry to do a plug, but I have got a book all about this, which is called The Guide to Blood Tests in the Context of Keto, Low Carb, and Carnivore, all referenced, fully referenced. So your doctor needs to be educated. Simple as that. Because these are not good readings only if you're in the context of comparing them to someone that doesn't eat much protein. And it needs to be in the context of all the other readings as well. Protein has been proven time and time again to be protective of the kidneys, contrary to popular belief. If anyone wants to email me, I will send them all the studies. Or if they go on my website, which is under my name, and go to articles, you will see a thing called kidneys, and you'll see literally hundreds of studies saying that protein is protective of the kidneys. So I never used to be like this 5 years ago. I'd be a little bit more magnanimous, but I think the doctor needs to go and do a bit of research before he tells you to come off a diet when he doesn't know what he's talking about, or she doesn't know what he's talking about. That I'm going to leave space now for other people to answer. I'm quite happy with anyone else following up on that.
Bill, would you have a take on this at all?
Not so knowledgeable as Stephen, and yeah, I must say that, you know, if anybody wants to see about blood results on Carnivore, please get Stephen's book. I've been pushing it twice today on different consults that I've done, and people should understand about that, because they send me blood results and I know a few things to look at, but I just know that it's nonsense in the context of a carnivore diet. All I can say that twice I've had people, particularly one guy who really was persuaded by his doctor that he was in late stage kidney failure, and however much I asked him, how do you actually feel? Oh, I feel fine. He was confused by these creatinine and bun levels, and I think it's something that you really don't need to panic about. Eventually he was convinced, and then I suddenly got this phone call an hour after he was thinking he was dying. Oh, I understand now. I see what's happened. Oh, great. You know, and I pointed him at the right thing and taken the fear away. So definitely don't be worried about it. It's blood results are totally different when on carnivore. Not something to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. I think Stephen summarized it really well.
Sorry, 180 grams of protein is about right, because it's 84 kilos, about 185 pounds.
For his weight, yeah, it's about right.
Having about 1 gram per pound of lean body weight.
Yeah, if he's training, I'd probably increase it a little bit closer to 220, but you'd have to see what kind of training he is doing and how much. I mean, if you go to the gym and do a light yoga workout, you're not going to need that much protein. If you're training in the gym like I do, or some of the other guys do that come on this podcast, then yeah, you're going to have a lot more protein. So it's context specific, but yeah, I'd say 180 would be a good point for an average normal gentleman. Yeah, your creatinine and bun will raise when you elevate your protein in your diet at all. But interestingly, it also goes down after a period of time for a lot of people. I've had elevated ranges of different kidney function values, all sorts. Problem is the test's a load of crap when you look at one single value, as Stephen rightly said. My EGFR at one point was 54. Yeah, I have better kidney function than pretty much anyone else out there. Measured through proper gold standing nuclear tracer tests. My kidney was also ultrasounded, scanned, and it was much stronger than other people's, much bigger, and it does act like a muscle. It does adapt, like Stephen said. So it is. It seems to be helpful to have a high protein diet in this case. So we'll go to the next point.
Oh, can I just say, Jonathan, sorry. You mentioned EGFR, and the E is estimated, which is why I often recommend, if you're having someone scaring you and saying, well, your EGFR is low, under 60, let's say, that is an estimated calculation based on the other two readings we just spoke about. So if you get a cystatin C, that's a proper measurement of your filtration rate, and that will shut your doctor up, seriously, because now I've done 100 of these, so I've seen this. So on average, if someone was at 50 and they do a cystatin C, if they're not in the hundreds, I'd be really surprised. Sort of 100, 108, 118, those sort of things.
Okay. I've got a question from Peter Madeleine. Hi, I'm 81, endurance athlete, keto for nearly 6 years, carnivore for 18 months or so. How should my age affect my protein and fat intake? This one's funny. So most people that will read this and answer this in Q&As they'll say, oh, you need more protein as you get older. Strictly speaking, you need more protein to signal the body to, build up muscle tissue through protein synthesis. Yes. But you don't need more protein because chances are you're more frail, you have less muscle on your body anyway, and you're probably not training as much, probably not standing up as much, probably not breaking down as much tissue. So I'd say probably for most people, protein intake will be based on your activity and body weight, muscle mass in particular. I don't think there's a difference in terms of that. And I think part of longevity is slowing down, knowing your body knows how to slow down. So if you're saying, oh, I need to increase my leucine or anabolic signaling amino acid to a certain amount to signal protein synthesis because it becomes down-regulated in terms of the amplification of that spike as you get older. Strictly speaking, no, because your body is smaller and less active anyway. So protein should be based around other things, and age shouldn't come into it. Basically, that's my long answer around it. But if you're less active, you have less fat. You take in less fat because you eat less fat, because there's less necessity for substrate for exercise demand. So that's pretty much my summary. But what do you guys think?
Well, we're all very polite and very English, waiting for somebody else to speak. I want to echo what you just said, Jonathan, because it does bug me, this thing about age. Because, look, you've got an 81-year-old who's an endurance athlete and is doing carnivore for 18 months. He's completely different to somebody who's 45 and never picked up a weight, never done any training. Absolutely. So the protein demands are very specific to the individual. But weight is irrelevant. Age is irrelevant. Age is absolutely irrelevant here because, yeah, you need more muscle mass. It's correlated, associated, whatever you want to say with longevity. So yes, you want to keep your muscle, but you don't have to buy into this belief that you just got to keep racking it up. Just make sure that you're eating enough for your needs and your activity, like Jonathan says. And if you're in the gym and you're pushing your body to a physiological limit, then you're going to need more protein than someone that's going to the gym and just going through the motions at whatever age. I'm sure you're in the gym, Peter, at some point, and you look at someone maybe a quarter of your age and think, well, they're not even putting a shift in. They're just on their mobile phone doing the occasional reps. I know that from my experience at 60. I mean, I'm all right. This is a different thing. I'm playing five-a-side soccer, and one of the guys is much faster than me. He's 37. Well, he's 23 years younger, but there's also people there that are younger and they don't run. They just don't run. And a couple of guys said, I've never seen a 60-year-old run like you. I'm like, well, I don't think I should be running like an old man. What should I have? Some canes? Just wobble about and tell people it wasn't like this in my day. This was all fields. But, I think you're absolutely right. It is down to individual activity, what you're actually doing. And age is the last thing I would ask about. Absolutely last thing.
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit greedy here, just add this little point. Thomas Stalauer, Dr. Gabriel Lyon, Stan Efferding, anyone that's a proponent of high protein, particularly misrepresenting and misunderstanding studies in nutrition science. Older people need more protein. It's really good. And this study says that as they age, they need this much more leucine to spike muscle protein synthesis. Here's my product code for this amino acid or protein powder or my meat steak delivery company. It's so obvious, guys. They're trying to sell you more than what you need. It's been a bit overspun. I keep seeing the same people being interviewed and everyone's carnivore channel. I'm like, get these people off. They don't have any right to be here. They're absolute fucking shills. That's the end of it. Sorry, I'm a bit aggressive about that one. But there we go.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
It's annoying when you see the same old stuff.
Yeah, get some different people on. Get Stephen on. Get Phil on. Get Ben on. These people have insights which a lot of people don't have, and they're unique. You can't just keep eating the same people saying, "Oh, you need to sprint more. You need more fermented food. you need to eat more fish, you need to get in the sunlight more. Okay, great. How many times have we heard that and people still aren't listening? They need to find someone that resonates with them, and it's not going to happen doing the same cyclical, going around the houses, asking the same people same questions. So dull. I'm very happy today, guys. I had a great day yesterday. Sorry, but yeah, the season asked, 51 years old, 1.5 year carnivore, mostly lion diet. I am in a stressful period and there's some emotional eating, pork rinds and weight gaining. Is going to sauna a good idea or too much stress on the, I imagine, body? Ben, do you have any take of this one?
As long as you put your liquids and electrolytes back in, I can't see a problem. Sauna is not what I'd go to for weight gain. I think more than anything else, just do what you need to do to survive the stressful period, and be gentle on yourself. That's my feeling on it. A little bit of weight, maybe your body knows what it's doing, and maybe that's what you need right now. So, yeah, if the pork rinds help, and if they're not fried in seed oils, then we do actually have a recipe. You can make your own as well. If you get pig skin, roll it up, slice it up into strips, soak it in like apple cider vinegar for up to overnight if you want to. Sprinkle it with salt, chuck it in a hot oven for about 20 minutes until they go crispy. You can make your own completely seed oil free, and it's a lot cheaper as well.
Nice one. What about you, Stephen or Phil?
Yeah, I think.
Go on, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm going to just say a sort of obvious thing is when they do studies on sauna, it lowers cortisol levels. Now, is it sauna, or is it the fact that somebody's been plucked out and been told not to look at a computer, not to worry about work, and go and sit in that room and sweat a little bit? So I'm actually answering this in a different way. It takes you away from stress, and that might be one of the key factors of sauna, because it is, generally speaking, relaxing. You will release toxins through your sweat. As Ben says, make sure you replace your electrolytes and hydrate yourself properly. But I would say it might just be 20 minutes in your own space, not looking at a computer, not having a mobile phone, not worrying about work, might be one of the key things there. The heat is just like, well, that's quite nice too. Because if you had the same 20 minutes on a beach, for instance, you're probably going to get the same lowering cortisol. I don't think it is sauna as such. It's a bit like carnivore. Is the meat magic, or is it the fact that we're just getting rid of all the other rubbish? And you can't actually prove that it's the meat that's magical. Yes, you can say about the amino acids, but I also think big part of what we do is avoid all the things like seed oils, as Ben just mentioned as well. So I would say it can't hurt you. Now, in saying that, things like hot yoga, where people do an hour and a half, that's ridiculous. I mean, that is a super stressful situation. But if you come out of it and you think that you feel better and you feel great and you don't have joint pains and it works for you, my mantra is, if it works for you, it works for you. So that's fair if that's your experience. But I do think the body does not like prolonged heat to the point where you are sweating excessively. So that's just my little side, because I do deal with a lot of Americans, and a lot of the people that do the hot yoga have a lot of problems with joint pains, and it was a real big thing maybe 2 years ago, but it's still floating around at the moment.
Yeah, my thoughts on it are that, if you're in a stressful period and there's emotional eating, pork rinds, if you're mostly lion diet, I'm wondering why you're mostly lion diet. Maybe if there's some kind of inflammation from something else, and pork rinds could well add to that if there's any sort of autoimmune thing going on. But also, there are other factors that you have to ask loads of questions. Like, somebody came to me a while ago, carnivore for 4 years, suddenly started putting weight on, and it turned out that she had gone from one job to another, which she had to sit in front of screens all day, and so that blue light was disrupting her insulin and whatever, and she was putting on weight when she started to look at those screens all day long doing trading. And as soon as she got the iris or tech or whatever on the computer and stopped looking at all that blue light, then the weight started coming off again. And so there could be all sorts of other factors in there, really. So, and pork rinds they can be a bit, what's the word? They can be a bit hyper palatable as well. They're a great snack for a lot of people, but if you're kind of overdoing them and then taking in, the fat from pork that has been fed on all sorts of other stuff, then you're pretty high in omega-6 and deuterium and whatever. So, there's a lot of factors going on in there, possibly. So there we go. My thoughts.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Ben and Stephen certainly said. Personally, as long as you're hydrated, I don't really see a problem with it. There's nothing really I could add to that. I'd just work on finding out a way to get rid of the emotional eating, because you're going to go through a dark spiral doing that. It takes a long time to get out of. I'd find things that resonate with you, or people that resonate with you online that have managed to overcome it. I'd probably say, yeah, I've got nothing to add to that one. Yeah, I think your answers are brilliant.
Maybe like make sure you get some exercise in as well, because to get some endorphins going around the body, that definitely helps. Also, anything that can help you sleep as well.
And
all the basic health hacks.
Yeah, maybe for the emotional eating and sort of addictions and whatever, some EFT, some tapping, some emotional freedom technique, reprogram that hard drive and get rid of those addictions. That could help too.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a message from Tom. Thank you for joining, Tom. Nice to see you here. I noticed a few long-term carnivore preferring eating brown meat and using barely any salt. Why would they have this in common? If I'm honest, they don't have it in common. It's a misconception, misunderstanding. There are people that do follow this sort of diet and have somehow adjusted their epigenetic expression in such a way that they need less salt. That's certainly possible. I just don't see it happening. I think your taste buds naturally will begin to not falter, but like dwindle towards whatever the word, gravitate towards what we'd previously eat thousands of years ago. And a chance I'll probably eating more rare meat. We probably won't cooking it as well. I personally notice myself, if I have a steak and it's too well cooked, it doesn't digest quite as well. I prefer it very slightly raw. That may change over time, but I've not honestly noticed any long-term carnivores, meaning anyone over say 5 years plus of carnivore, where they've sort of only done one or just done the other. It's been a very mixed bag. I've been looking out for a lot of them online. There's not many, so it'd be impossible to really say. I think we're looking at like 5 or 6 people that happen to do it versus 5 or 6 people that don't happen to do it. But what do you guys have your take on this?
Well, it's been 9 years for me, and some things like steaks I like to have pretty bloody in the middle, and some things like burgers I like to have really well cooked, and lamb chops I sort of probably overdo them as far as some chef would think. I love that crispy fat, so and I love a load of salt as well, and some people don't, and it depends what you want. Listen to your body, and whatever your taste buds want, it's fine. Just eat a load of meat and you'll probably be great. Some people tend to go towards the raw thing. Some people say that they only found good health when they went towards raw, but they're pretty rare. We had quite a few of them on our carnivore conference in 2019. So, the chefs had a pretty easy job for them, just throwing some brains and liver and whatever up on the serving bit. Most people don't need to go that way. Yeah. Some people sort of get to the point where they don't use any salt. I think Anthony Chafee at the moment is not using any salt, but whatever you want. I don't think, there's a limit to salt. Paleomedicina, they never have any caveats about salt. And whatever you like the taste of is probably what your body wants. Just do what you like, I'd say.
Exactly. I've spoken to Anthony about that because there was some fool on social media. I know there was a fool. And saying that they thought that Anthony's ankle injury was a result of not having enough salt. which A, it happened 20 years ago, and B, it was a rugby tackle that literally broke his foot off from the leg. So I don't think salt's, no amount of salt's going to help. But he says, look, I just salt to taste like everyone else. Salt is one of those things. If your body is low on electrolytes, you will crave salt. And there's, you'll know about it. So just like Jonathan says as well, just, salt to taste and you'll be fine.
Yeah, brilliant. Want to go to the next question? Got a question from Black Name. Please remember to put Q&As before the Qs, or Qs before the questions. I've got psoriasis on my wrists, partially because of allergy of dairy and exacerbated from topicals to treat it. I stopped when I eat strict beef. It's healed a bit, but not gone away. 3 months. What to do? I've had some very, very annoying experience like this on my wrist, and it lasted ages and chins. The only thing that has fixed it, out of everything I've tried, medicinal, herbal, the lot, creams, was using beef fat. So just raw beef tallow. That was it. Nothing added to it. I'm talking literally, I have a tub here. It is just beef fat. That is literally all it is. The only thing that's fixed it, it's probably taken, from the time I added it into my routine, probably about 2 months to completely fix it. Funnily enough, it wasn't really a gut thing or a diet thing. It was just an environmental thing. So when I was at the gym, I was using wrist wraps and all these topical sprays and creams and washing my hands a lot, being a bit OTT, and I think that really wrecked my skin. And it was exacerbated by antibiotics that I was given, which I didn't want at all, about 1.5 years ago after surgery. But yeah, that's my advice. Beef fat, that works really well. Outside of that, a bit of sun, getting outside as much as possible is really going to help as well. They're the two probably biggest interventions I would recommend that you probably aren't already doing, because you said you're eating strict beef diet. So maybe your fat's too low. Maybe you're not got oil or enough oil in your skin. So look at adding some fat of some kind as well. Tallow, ghee, whatever you can tolerate. See what works. Ben, do you have any take on the psoriasis issue?
Yeah, I'm sure Phil will have a lot to offer, but I think healing the gut. So I'd echo that. Go higher fat. Go for a PKD kind of proportions. Like, what is it, Phil? 1/3 of fat to 2/3 lean by sight on the plate. You need to heal the gut. Obviously, keep away from any lectins, oral contraceptives, excess alcohol, and stress to help heal the gut. How long that's going to take, who knows? But it should be a matter of weeks once you remove all the stressors.
Yeah, I think these skin things can be really quite stubborn. I see people sort of who've got psoriatic arthritis who have both joint and skin issues. The skin issues can go on for quite a long time. And I think, I don't know, but I think it could also be a sign of some liver distress, or, the liver has been compromised for some time. And so the skin becomes another organ of detox, and that can show up some problems with the liver. But down the line, generally it sort of comes and goes in waves, and then suddenly it's gone. And it can be really stubborn, and people can turn back from that path because they think that it's not working. It can also be, there can be an oxalate dump component in it, of course. And yes, dairy definitely can cause that. I mean, I remember when my daughter was young, and both of my kids, my younger kids, have had eczema, psoriasis, that kind of thing. And with my daughter, it's very simple. We just changed her from pasteurized milk to raw milk. But now, with Sophia's ideas on raw milk and how it could be even worse down the line. But it was more complicated with my son, and it took a long time. I think it was to do with cesarean section. We were conned into that for both of them. And probably they didn't get seeded with the correct gut biome as they came out. And so it took a while, but it's completely gone. My son, who is now 9, for the first 3 years or so, maybe even a bit longer, he had psoriasis that would come up, eczema all over the back of his knees, even on his cheeks. It was weeping away. Even if he had a little bit of apple, a quarter of a peeled apple would get his cheeks weeping. And it can be very sensitive around that time when the gut's healing. So press on, and I think that Jonathan's right about the tallow. You know, that's all I use. I sometimes get some dry skin on my forehead, and all I do, I've even stopped putting essential oils in it. Just slap the tallow on, you know, and it's the only thing I put on my skin now, and it really seems to help. But yeah, just be patient, and maybe, you know, if the sun's not out, some red light therapy is also very good on psoriasis and eczema, that kind of thing. But yeah, lots of sunlight, carry on healing the gut, and be patient. It can be tricky.
Stephen, anything to add?
No, I will always defer to Phil in that area.
Okay, move on to the next question. Got one from Gaza Mongo 1. I understand fat absorption is rate limited by bile production, but does the body have any mechanisms to modulate lipids in the blood, or is this not required as it is a crisis like high glycogen? So he's basically saying, with high circulating blood glucose, is there something like the Randall cycle for lipids, for digested fats? But there is obviously for sugar, like a body works hard to get rid of the sugar. That's basically what he's asking. So I'd say, yeah. What is it? Well, it just trickles around. When it's ready to get absorbed, it gets absorbed. That's it. Your body has a good capacity to store fat, believe it or not. The problem with the sugar is obviously the glycation, which happens because of it, which is pro-inflammatory, pretty much immediately on impact on the endothelial wall of the inner blood vessel. But I think Stephen will have a much better answer than that. What ask you, Stephen?
No, Jonathan, that was a great answer. I think, yes, you hit the nail on the head, because Gaza is looking at the toxic element to blood glucose going too high, but there's no toxic element to the fat intake, because firstly it goes through the lymph, it goes through a different system first off. Secondly, it's slowly absorbed, so glucose is very quick. Fat can have a very long-term effect because of the slow absorption and the different route it takes. Obviously, we've got, you know, VLDL, LDL, IDL carriers of lipids. And yes, it can end up in the fat stores, but it is modulated because there is a demand for it. And one of the things I use in the bloods, VLDL is a really good indicator of whether you're fat adapted or not. I don't want to get into numbers because the people are getting too bogged down with that, but you can tell from VLDL in relation to IDL and LDL whether the human you are testing is fat adapted, because the fat uptake on someone that's fat adapted is shown in the VLDL reading. So I think it's some nuance to the question, but I think it's something we don't really need to worry about.
Any of you guys?
No, nothing to add there. Cool.
There we go. Sorry, I keep pressing the wrong button to mute. I've given up dairy except butter and have been more sleepy. Do I need more fat? If so, what fat would the panel recommend? Chances are you're lower in calcium, and that's probably the most likely causal effect of the reason why you feel more sleepy, and that's impacting your insulin secretion and the absorption of glucose into your brain and muscle cells. That's the most likely thing I could think. And the reason why I say it is because about 95% of people that remove dairy, that experience that, seem to have an alleviation by adding dairy back in. Seems quite causal to me, but there's obviously the other side of it. If you're, if you've had a set diet, you've taken dairy out, and say that dairy makes up 20 to 30% of your macronutrient intake, say it did, well, you've just decreased the mass of food going into your body, therefore you've got less substrate going around to do the work that you need to do to, do the labouring, the whatever it is you do, I can't remember. I think it's like construction work or something. But that'd be the most obvious reason why. So one of those two reasons. Unless someone else has got a different opinion, of course.
No, nothing really there except what fat would the panel recommend. I mean, for me, it's always tallow. I feel better without any dairy at all. And it works the other way around for me. So I find that if I have a load of dairy, I'll be sort of, sinusy and no energy and sleepy. So different thing.
I think Jonathan's onto the right thing, really, because if you take 20% out of 20% animal products and you're not replacing it with something, it could just simply be that you're not providing enough energy. And fat used for energy, so there's fat in dairy, so it could simply be that, I think. There's maybe a few other things it could be, but I would actually firstly nail whether it is dairy or not. I would actually do that experiment to make sure it isn't something else going on. So if you've given it up and you feel more sleepy, make sure firstly that's repeatable. I don't know how long you've been doing that. Let's say it's 2 weeks, because it could be an adaptation period. You could take Jonathan's advice, add a little bit more, another cut of lamb or something, some sort of thing to replace the dairy that's come out, see what happens. And then if nothing improves with slightly more nutrients going in and you've not got the dairy and you still feel sleepy, which is really unusual, by the way, unless, as Jonathan said, you've got less nutrients coming in. You see if adding dairy back makes you go back to sleep. just make sure it is dairy.
Yeah, so Stephen's describing a washout period. So do one thing, change one intervention, see what happens, give it a week or two, do the other thing, see what happens. It doesn't really matter which one you do at this point because it seems to be an immediate effect. So just try one out and see what happens. But yeah, sorry for.
Well, no, I just think that there's a comment here that's really quite relevant to this from Twyla Varn. It says pride, flower, rainbow, heart, pride, person, earth, intersex, pride, person, flower, non-binary. So I've got to really thank you for that one, Twyla. That's very relevant to the subject. Thank you very much.
There we go. That worked.
Well done.
Can I also just postulate one other thing for the dairy person? It could be because you have more glucose floating around, you do retain a little bit more water. So it could simply be dehydration, because that will make you feel sleepy. Your body will slow you down a bit when you're in a dehydrated state. I mean, this is real pure out there speculation, but it could simply be that. If 20% of your nutrients are coming from dairy, then there is some carbs in that. So therefore, you're going to be producing some insulin. Therefore, you're going to have some water retention. So it could simply be that.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm nearly certain, unless some weird infection or just happenstance, the weather's changed. He's had a hot few days, or I don't know, all these different things. But yeah, nice one, excellent. Got the next question from Lambs. I had a popped capillary in my eye earlier this week. Nice zombie look. Any idea what caused? Not a clue. Come on, Lambs. Yep. What are you like? He's being a wind up, but yeah.
Is it a wind up? If it is
a wind up, yeah, it's a wind up. Yeah.
Okay, I can answer it if you want about popped capillaries, because obviously I have to deal
go
with
for
that.
it. Just out of curiosity. Right. Yeah.
Right. When you get a type 2 diabetic, they're really worried about retinopathy. So you have to know all about the eye. And one of the things that surprises people is you can pop a capillary in your eye by just rubbing it. Seriously, you can just rubbing it. It can do it. Contact lenses can do it. Previous surgery can do it when you just got a little bit of a weakness. Deposits in your eye. It's close to my heart. My brother-in-law actually lost an eye when he was cleaning his car because a little bit of rust went in there. So, you've got to look after your eyes. Sometimes it's idiopathic, which means the doctors haven't got a clue. That's why it's got the word idiot in it. And of course, type 2 diabetes. So anything where you've got inflammation can cause that to happen. But if it's a wind up, it still gave me a chance to help people who might have had that and are worried about it. So
yeah, I've seen people pop capillaries in their eyes bench pressing in the gym.
Yes. Sorry.
Really straining, holding their breath, and they come up looking like Christopher Lee in the old Hammer films, So all sorts can do that.
Nice one. So Courtney Park said, I'm a type 2 diabetic on a GLP-1 agonist. I lift weights 3 times a week and do cardio 2 times a week. I'm eating something. I'm concerned about muscle loss and other side effects. Any thoughts on muscle loss and stopping GLP-1? That's a good question. I might take it just quickly. I'd say continue doing a carnivore diet if you are. Don't eat carbohydrates. Continue with the exercise. Try to do it progressively over time. It doesn't really matter too much what you're doing as long as it's difficult and gets harder over time. So you create that adaptive response. In terms of muscle loss, no, eat more protein or eat enough protein. We probably all have a take on how much protein we should eat. The answer is you probably just need to eat to appetite, to be honest. If you've got a very specific body composition goal, you might try to fine-tune things, but I don't think you can go far wrong if you eat, equal protein to fat grams, if you know what that is. So, for example, one meal might be, I don't know, a small 200-gram steak with 2 or 3 eggs, a bit of butter on it. That's equal protein to fat grams. And if you eat 2 of them a day, that's probably enough protein for the day. I'd recommend people, especially women, consume at least 100 grams of protein per day and not go below that for pretty much any reason at all, unless they physically can't eat, in which case they drink the protein somehow. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? Because it's quite a very open question. Like we can tackle it from a million different angles.
Well, it's not a particularly safe and effective medication because you've got this extreme muscle loss. So it's something like if you lose 8 kilograms of fat, you might lose as much as 5 kilograms of muscle. That pops into my head, as a quick ratio. There have been experiments to try and stop that happening, and they have been able to stop that happening. And what does that involve? That involves wearing a weight vest. So let's say you lose 10 kilograms of body fat. Your weight vest would weigh 10 kilograms, because one of the mechanisms, the body's pretty smart. If you are lugging around less weight, it will try and reduce your muscle mass. Jonathan's just won a competition really hard. I mean, he would tell you how hard it is to get muscle to grow like that. It's difficult. It's really, really difficult. Now, if you're taking a medication which actually has a known side effect of muscle loss, you are making it doubly difficult to maintain the muscle, because that's one of the side effects of muscle loss. And there's a few people saying, well, that's what happens when you lose weight anyway. But you could search GLP-1 face, and you will see that you lose muscles in your face. It's not a particularly nice thing, and you will see more and more of that. So one of the things I would do is I would look at what's the mechanism of action of GLP and actually try to mimic it with things that you can do with your lifestyle. So one of the things it does is it slows your digestion down. It reduces the motility of the small intestine. There's an easy way to actually try to ramp that up, and that is doing something like some squats before you eat, and certainly going for a walk after you eat. So don't be inactive before or after eating. Just get yourself moving a little bit. That would be one of the things. Reducing your appetite. Well, that's what it does. That's the mechanism of action. But eating this way and to satiety is a much better way of doing it. So I would think that would really help you. It reduces blood glucose production and absorption. Well, you're not eating carbs anymore, and you are exercising. So you're now getting to the point where it's demand driven, the gluconeogenesis. So your body is in control of the demand driven basis of how much glucose you're making. It stimulates insulin production. That's what GLP does. Well, it tends to be needed for people that are eating lots of carbohydrates. So this is one of the things when you're speaking to your healthcare provider, you need to be really honest about what you're going to be eating, so the medications can be adjusted so the dosage is correct. We don't advise people to stop, start, change, whatever. We're just giving you the information. We're not doctors, but we have, qualifications in the health field. I certainly have qualifications on the medications relating to diabetes and obesity. So you have to really take that into consideration, because your dosage is going to be critically leveled at your food intakes. See, one of the worst things is in the medical world, a little bit has flipped recently in diabetes, where you eat more carbs to stop you having insulin shock from your medications. Right? When I started 15 years ago, it was you eat carbohydrates and then you dose your insulin in relation to carbohydrate intake. Insulin shock is a really terrible thing to be talking about, where we're now looking at, well, if you have too much insulin, you've got to eat more carbs. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, as it says, any thoughts on muscle loss and stopping GLP-1? I think I've just given you that. That would be my take on it. I don't think it is as safe and effective as it's being pushed, and I do think there's too many people out there saying, hey, maybe this is one of the better ones. Well, that amount of muscle mass being lost, and as we talked about earlier, just to come full circle about longevity and how important it is, I don't think anybody should be taking something that is drastically cutting into your muscle mass and changing your appearance as well. So you might actually lose some weight, but then you look at yourself in the mirror and think, wow, I look awful. And you'll get friends saying you look really haggard. Well, that's going to be not great for your mental health. So they're side effects that you're not going to find on the insert, but it's just something to be mindful of. And I'm not here to scare you. I'm just giving you the fact, have a think about it.
Can I ask a question on
Phil,
this?
do you have a take on it?
Anyone? Because I'm not up on this GLP-1 stuff. Is this something like Ozempic? Is that similar to
Yeah,
this?
that's what it is. It's a peptide hormone that your body releases.
Right.
It's just signal your body's full and you've eaten. The problem is it has downstream effects because it's one peptide hormone in a cascade of other hormones which affect a lot of stuff, including leptin signaling, a number of things.
It's not just physical symptoms. It's like, suicidal thoughts, all kinds of things come with this.
Well, that comes with almost any medication, but it's a particularly nasty thing. I think the general consensus of people that I've noticed people that I've spoken to in our space that are quite on top of this sort of stuff is that it's not particularly helpful unless someone needs to drop weight now because they're going to have a heart attack in like 10 days because they're too heavy. So outside of that, if there's a way out of it, I mean, if someone's 600 pounds, get them on it. It's going to save them a lot quicker than not. Because otherwise, they're just going to keep eating, get fat, and die, and have a choking hazard because they're eating too much. Does anyone have any takes on that question at all? I know, Stephen, you spoke. No? Yes? No?
No, nothing else for me.
I'm guessing it's chronic kidney disease, and recent blood tests showed a decline in EGFR to 30 from 35 in January when I started Carnivore. Any advice, please? It's a 5-point drop, guys. It could have been a lot of damage that was done before that. It's just happened to cause it to continue spiraling down. At that point, I'd speak to someone much more professional than any of us, a natural endocrinologist, a natural nephrologist. I couldn't give advice on that one because it is dangerously low. Unless you guys have any takes to.
Yeah, well, don't forget the E is the estimated. I can't stress this enough because I do see these numbers and I see them much higher when they have a cystatin C. So if you have got a false premise when you start, if you're looking at the creatinine and the urea and you use that calculation to work out the filtration rate, and you're looking at the creatinine being too high, in inverted commas, and the urea being too high, in inverted commas, you're going to get a filtration rate which is not actually apt or appropriate. So if you get to this stage, I would pretty much demand a cystatin C test to put your mind at rest.
Absolutely, get the right test for this sort of thing. It's not.
Yeah.
I know we sort of say, oh, these values mean this, but that is a low bloody value. That's absurd. That is really bad. So you do need to get that checked by a professional. Don't ask people online. Get the right test. Get it all sorted out. Ben and Phil, do you have any takes at all?
Well, yeah, I've been working with somebody with something similar to this, and in the end, I passed them on to Zofia Paleomedicina. It might be worth talking to her because they have doctors there that understand about this and have reversed a lot of chronic kidney disease, sort of really high stage, whatever. And it does come around. It just takes a while and very weird results while it's sorting itself out. So to get the sort of bloods, interpreted and whatever, and have your mind set at rest by somebody who's seen this reverse. I don't know how much Stephen's seen. He's seen a hell of a lot more than me, I'm sure. But I bumped him over to Sophia, and then I'm learning because he sends me voice messages all the time of how he's getting on, what the results are doing, and he's improving nicely. So I think it's when you get something like this, there's a lot of fear mongering from the regular docs, and you're going to die and you're going to be on dialysis and you need to be on the transplant list and all this kind of thing. And they just haven't seen people go onto these kind of diets and seen these things reverse. The body can heal all kinds of things. And so to get rid of the fear mongering, and if you still, want somebody with doctor in front, go talk to somebody like Zofia, I'd say. And, get some confidence of their past sort of successes.
Yeah, nice one. Well, we're on to our last question now, guys. This was from Mojo Curio. 1 year carnivore. Last winter, my nose became red, hot and tender. Reduced in spring, but still looked discoloured, bruised. Is there a link between nose and liver gallbladder? I don't know. I couldn't even guess because my mind's not that way right now. I'm getting a bit tired, guys. Have you guys got any sort of opinions on this? Because I can't mash one up.
No, I don't see, unless it went across the cheeks as well, which is that classic sort of butterfly pattern of rosacea, which can also, like everything else, be associated with oxalate dumping. But rosacea, I've had it in the past and it was horrible, and I'd sort of I feel like my face was in the front of a electric fire, and that was when I was I was a big fatty back then, eating a load of plants. But that's calmed down completely. I don't get that really. I still don't go brown, just go red, but I don't get that facial flushing and hotness and whatever. But if it's just your nose, I don't know. Don't know. I don't know at all. But there's a link between skin and liver gallbladder for sure, but not specifically nose, as far as I know.
Well, it's physiological. It's frostbite prevention. So the nose gets red and hot to stop the nose getting cold and frostbitten. I mean, that's sort of what it does. So it is a normal physiological response.
Yeah, I think so.
Just
makes sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you've got some reindeer in your ancestry or something like that, in the winter.
Jonathan, can I screen share something about the GFR, just like a real person?
Yeah, just quickly. Yeah, I need to go in a second. I'm struggling quite a bit.
Okay. Because I just think, just to put people's mind at rest of the actual sort of difference, screen share, window, quick. I mean, this is one I could just pick up very quickly. Real person there. Now, I know it isn't as low as what we just said, but I'll leave it on the screen. But it basically says, based on my EGFR, doctors were freaking out and wanting to send me to a nephrologist. Stephen took this concerningly stride, advised me to get a cystatin C. I'll cut to the chase. Right, my standard EGFR was showing 67, but the cystatin C test, my EGFR was 128. That's nearly double. And 112 if you included creatinine. You see, so as soon as you put one of those things in, it can bring it down. I couldn't find one with a more dramatic one, although I've got 2 or 3 people. One was on dialysis, came off dialysis. I mean, that was bad. Stage 3, I've got one of those, completely reversed it. So I just wanted to get across, I'm not saying ignore the EGFR. I'm saying with this way of eating, it can give you a reading that isn't a true reflection of your filtration rate, which is why the cystatin C test is better, because it doesn't do a calculation, it does a direct or more direct reading.
Brilliantly said. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, actually, because that did give people a bit of the point of reference. Yeah, it is actually quite an pertinent, important thing that you can't really just dodge. So look at all these numbers. So when Stephen says don't just test this, get this test as well, he's not saying it just to spend your money. He actually means this is more useful. You know, you need lots of different figures here. But we'll wrap it up there, guys. Anyway, so thank you very much for joining tonight. Carnivore Team GB. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Yeah.
Just before we go, can do one really quick one.
We need to wrap it up here. We need to wrap up here, Phil. I can't sit here any longer.
Okay, fair enough.
I've said a few times I can't sit here. I'm in a lot of pain. Excruciating pain. All right. Thanks so much, guys. And you'll find all of our links below in the chat, in the video here. Competitionconsultant.com for me. Substack is Ben's right now. You can see it on the screen. And Stephen's is theukcarnivore.com. And philescott.substack.com. All right. Thanks very much.